be somebody else. I tried to color my hair different colors. I tried to change my clothes. As time passed, days went by. I still owned the house. After a while, I decided to rent it out because after seeing the crime scene where they were, I just basically couldn't move back into the house. Like 4 days after they opened up the house, we called a lady from a non-for-profit organization, and she came by with the truck. We gave her all the furniture that we had in the house, most of the dishes, all of his clothes that he owned, most of Zuzankas' clothes, most of the toys that she had, all pots and pans and dishes and bedding and kitchen stuff, basically everything. As time went by, I sold the cars, I sold his bayonets that he owned. It just drove me crazy having it all around me and looking at it. I just basically couldn't look at it, couldn't touch it, couldn't be around any of it. It reminded me so much of him. I was so angry, furious, just being around anything that he owned and he had and he touched. For a little while, we lived with my parents. After few months or so, me and my daughter decided to move out to a different town. My son stayed with my parents because he blamed me for the death of Zuzanka. He said that there was something that I could have done, that I could have not done, that I could have said, that he would not kill himself and kill her. After 8 months, the investigation of Zuzanka's murder was closed. I decided that the police department has her iPhone and iPad and iPod, and I want it back. So I basically went there and I asked them to give it back to me. One more thing that I wanted to have was his picture on the scene. I asked the police department to give it to me. After a few days, they called me and they basically told me that it's ready. I went ahead to the police department and I picked it up. I was sitting right there. They gave me a yellow envelope. The police officer was sitting in front of me and he's like, yeah, go ahead, you can open it up. I just opened it up and I looked at it and there was him in the house, just basically on the crime scene. That's all I needed. I was so happy I got it. I packed the envelope back and I took it home. It gave me a little bit of closure because I could see him, that he was actually not there, that he was dead. As the time was going on, I kept counseling. I counseled for like 1.5 years. I was so tired of listening to people telling me how to grieve, what to look like, what to act like, how to live my life, who to date, who to see, how to breathe, how to dress, how to work, how to drive, how to live my life. I felt like I was living in a different world that wasn't me. It was just so awkward. I just couldn't fit in. I felt like I was so poisonous and contagious that people looking at me, they imaginary poked me with their fingers, saying, look at that girl. That's that girl that her husband killed her daughter and hung himself. I missed her so much. I spent my days and my nights going back and forth to the cemetery, buying flowers, sitting at the cemetery, buying bears, going back and forth, punching walls and trying to bring her back, closing my eyes, opening my eyes. I was thinking that she's gonna appear and she's gonna come back and she's gonna be here again. When I woke up every day, I was thinking that she's gonna be right next to me, that her crib is gonna be right there. But every day, it did not happen. Every day was the same. I kept waking up and she was still not there and not there and not there. I couldn't stop thinking about her. I miss her so much. No matter how much I have tried, she still was not coming back. Even though I knew on the other side that he was dead, wherever I went, I kept turning around. I kept listening to everything. I kept watching everybody, everything. I constantly checked my phone. I looked at the clock. I turned around, watched my surroundings, listened to any noise, and being so conscious that I was thinking he's gonna come back and just be there one day. In the meantime, as I worked in a hair salon, I have met a guy that worked at the crematorium. The first thing I asked him is, like usual, what do you do for a living? He's like, yeah, I work for the crematorium. I looked at him and I'm like, I think it's my best day of my life that I met you here today. And he looked at me and he's like, why? I'm like, my husband took a life of my daughter and his own, and I would like to see what a cremation service and cremation process looks like. Would you mind taking me to a crematorium one day so I can experience that? A few days later, he called me and he's like, yeah, I can take you there. He picked me up. We went there. I was there. He was there. The experience that I went through was amazing to me, and it was different, but I liked it. I got to see how they bring the bodies, they unload them from the truck. I got to see what they look like in the box. I was able to go inside of the fridge, see the shelves where the bodies were stacked, touch the boxes, see everything what's going on. I got to go put the box on the tracks and push it right into the oven, and I closed the door and I could see through the window what happens to it when it burns. I was standing right there thinking that it was him right there. I was imagining that it was actually him. I stood there for at least a good hour. Then my friend, he became my friend, he showed me what it looks like once they take out the body and they just pack it in a little box. To be honest with you, it was the best field trip of my life. Finally, somehow, after the crematorium visit, I got the closure that he was actually dead. My brain processed the fact because I got to see the body burn and I imagined him. The experience was something that the money couldn't buy. It was important to me and it gave me a lot. And kind of, like I said, just the closure. As the time went by, I had to work like everybody else. I felt like I had to play dress up and pretend everything was all cool. I felt like that was wrong to show emotions in front of people. It was like a show. It was like an imaginary world that I was in. Pretend to be me, trying to fit in, trying to be somebody else. I tried to color my hair different colors. I tried to change my clothes for normal clothes. I tried to put normal makeup on. I felt like it was a sin to talk about emotions and the grief and feelings that I had that I missed my daughter so much. I tried so hard to be like every other person, live like every other person, act appropriate in different situations, try not to talk about Zuzanka with everyone. It did work for a while, but in the long run, I just couldn't change myself. I just couldn't be that appropriate that normal because it was not me. I just couldn't pretend to be somebody else, no matter how much I tried. I've been reaching out to Polish newspapers to interview me and write about my grieving process, to show people that families like us exist and people lose children and lose family members to murders and suicides and homicides. I started having articles in papers, and I try to tell people that they have to function no matter what if something like this happens. That year, another tragedy like mine took place on the north side. A father took a life of his wife and his daughter. It happened on the same street that Robert used to live. It was like 3 houses down. When I heard about that, I decided to go to the crime scene. As I went, I saw the neighbors that I used to know when I used to visit him, when I used to see him. It was weird in a way because they looked at me, they're like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, I want to be here because I want to be a support to the family and try to help him somehow. I ended up going to the wake and the funeral for the family. I tried to reach out to the family to tell them that I can help them financially, or I can support them just being there for them. I understand the emotions. I understand the grieving process. As much as I tried, they did not want to listen to me. They had a different grieving process. So I just basically walked away and I said, okay, maybe it's not the time. Maybe it's not meant to be.